Hi everyone and welcome back to video number 4 already, good lord. And today, in this video, it might be the same day, we're going to look at a couple more little bits of 3D modelling, and we're going to make some little feet for our robot. So normally I don't actually make feet, but why not when in Rome. So firstly I'm just going to press N to hide that again, so that goes back and forth. Or you can kind of get it from there, that's fine. I'm going to click off of this object. So one thing to pay attention to is, because we're going to add a new object, if I have this object selected and I add a new one, it's going to kind of be in the same group. And I don't want that. I want them to be separate objects so that I can deal with them later. And I might join them later, but for now I want them to be separate. So make sure you haven't got anything selected, and then go up to add or press Shift A, and I'm just going to add a cube. So for now the cube is way too big. Let's drop that down size and move it out here so we can kind of see it. And I'm not going to hide this because I want to know how big this is in relation to this one, right? So that's why I'm not hiding it. And I can see if I come to like a side that it's too low at the moment for this, so I'm just going to kind of, don't worry about getting it exactly lined up because we will move it. Okay, so that kind of actually looks okay. That looks about the same, the right size to me. If I was to have like feet on this thing, and what I'm going to do is, let's make them a little bit round as well, shall we? So we're going to make sure we haven't got anything else selected, and we're going to go to a cylinder, and we're going to drag that out, and I want them the same size, so I'm going to look from the top, and we're going to keep going until that's about the same size, right? So, and then from the side I'm going to keep going until, actually I'm going to make it a little bit less thin, and I'm going to make it like it's a cute little toe or something. There we go. I'm going to make it look like that. Now currently these are two separate objects, but I want them to be the same. I want them to be one object. So I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to go over to this little wrench, spanner, whatever you want to call it, adjustable icon, which is modifiers. So modifiers is kind of like an extra function or like a superpower that we can add onto an object and make it do something slightly different. They work by selecting an object and clicking add modifier, and then we can kind of either look through these or just search for what we're after, and then it will be in here. All the properties for that will be in here, so that's why it's blank at the moment, because we haven't got one. And what I'm looking for, if I scroll down, is a boolean. Now booleans are kind of like mathematical operations, but don't worry, we don't have to do any maths. It's the beauty of it. What we're going to do is, we have got now our boolean, and we can kind of turn it on and off in our screens, and we have it what's called a difference, a union, and an intersect, which we'll deal with in a minute. And we say operand type is on an object, and if we click on here we can see that we have cylinder and cylinder 01. Now I know which one is which, but it's probably not very easy. So what we're actually going to do before we apply this is we're going to go up to cylinder, which is our big base part, and we're going to right click on there, and we're going to come down to rename, which isn't there, which is brilliant. We're just going to double click on it then, and we're going to say base, and I'm going to call this cube foot, and I'm going to call this cylinder toe. So I'm just typing that in and then pressing enter. It doesn't matter really what you call them, just as long as you know which one is which. And I had the foot bit connected when I put the boolean on. If you've lost that, you might just be in a different one of these, so make sure you go back to there. And here I can now see that toe is the one I want, right? And what I want to do is I want to join these, so I want to union them. And now you can see, if I just move that, I take that and okay, that should, oh okay, yeah. So before, you can see that the orange box is just around there, and then I can still select this one, whereas now with the union on, and actually make it visible, the orange box goes all the way around. The problem is that until you actually apply a modifier, it's kind of like in a temporary state. So you can see what it's going to look like, but it's not actually going to look like that. And let's just have a look at intersect. So if we were to do, so difference is going to cut off the rounded shape. So it's going to say, no, I just want the part where, the part of the toe where the box isn't. Union is going to say, let's join them forever. And intersect is going to say, let's just keep the bit where they overlap. We want union. And then I'm going to go to this drop down box and I'm going to click apply. So now when I grab this, I've got this foot shape and I've got the old toe shape. So I'm going to go to toe and I'm just going to delete it. So now we've got kind of like this cool little shape that we've made with a union. And let's be honest, this doesn't look great. So what I'm also going to do is Control R to add a loop, and then I'm going to press 2 to select this, and I'm just going to press GX and kind of slide it back a bit. There we go, that looks a little more funky. And you can kind of have a play with this for a little bit if you want. In fact, let's press let's make this a little nicer actually. So I feel like it should have like little bits coming out here and here, just to kind of make it look a little more solid. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press E to extrude, but I'm just going to extrude a little bit. And then I'm going to grab this line, bring it down, and then I'm just going to grab this face. Does that look good? That doesn't look good. I'm going to undo that. And this is the beauty of 3D modeling, everyone. Let's try this one. And I'm going to, instead of extrude, I'm going to insert a face. So I'm going to press I. And now that's better. And now I'm going to... There we go. That looks a little more robot-y to me. And that's fine. Okay. So we have one little foot. But I want 4. I want one there, one there, one there, and one there. What we could do is we could get that and we could just copy it. So if we press Shift D, it will just copy it. Then we have to rotate it and all of that. So no thank you. What we're actually going to do is we're going to use another modifier to just copy this. And whilst it might seem a bit much just to do it for the free, if you learn how to use this, and later on in another project it might come up, you know the tools basically. So remember that this mini series is about just learning some of the easier tools and sort of not necessarily mastering anything. So I'm going to come back over to the wrench and I'm going to go to modifier and I'm going to go to search, and actually nice, it's the second one I want to make an array. So an array is kind of like, it's like a shopping list, except every item on the list is the first thing. And I can decide over here just how many items are on the list. And if I wanted to change this, you can see that they all get bigger, or they all get smaller, or they all rotate together, because they're all just copies of this first piece, right? And that's what I want. I want... So that's doing scale. No, looks a bit bigger than it was a minute ago, doesn't it? No, it's fine. Yeah, I want these exactly the same. I just want them in a different place. So what I'm actually going to do is, rather than use a relative offset, so that says I'm going to go along the x, which it is, as a factor of 1. So we can see that it's the new one's touching the old one, so it's exactly the same size, or sort of along. If I did like 2, it's leaving exactly 1 gap between. Or if I did 5 or 50 even, there we go, that you would get 50 in there. And if I did like 1.1, it would leave just a little gap. So depending on where we want them, and I might want them kind of to step up offwards, or I might want them to step up and around, but it would stay relative, so no matter how many steps I did, it would always be the same, right? But we don't want that. I'm just going to put that all back to how it was. So I'm just going to unclick that, and I don't want a constant either. I actually want to use an object offset. So what this will say is the difference between the first and the second one, and the second and the third one, will be determined by another object, or the position and the scale and all types of things to do with that object. Now, you would think that we could use this, but we can't use this because anytime we change this, it then will change all of these. So we need to add like a new shape in that we're not going to play with, that we perhaps can't see because we don't want just a shape in there at the end, but that we can kind of use to change our array. And what that's called is an empty, and it's called an empty because it doesn't have any geometry. It's just a thing for us to use. So if you go to add, you'll notice that empties have their own category, and you can use any of these. They're all the same, but I'm just going to use plain axes because it just makes sense. And you can see there that it is in the middle of everything. And for now I'm just going to actually just turn the base off, just so I can see that that is at 0, 0, 0, the same as everything that gets imported, and it's called empty. And I can double click on that, I can rename it, but it's okay, empty's fine. So if I click back on my little foot and we go back to the wrench and we make sure we've got our modifier, I can now click on here and I now have the base, which we're not using, and I have empty. Or if I wanted to, I could click on that and I could kind of click one of them, but I don't want to. I want to just click empty. Right, now it's okay. This is okay. What we're going to do is we're going to take our empty and we're going to just scale it all the way down. Not quite sure what's happened there. It's going up. Oh. There we go. So make sure that we've got our constant on as well, relative, sorry. Let me just have a play here. Okay, and let's give that a go. We can play with the size in a second, and what we want to do is we want this to be rotated by 90 degrees on the Z so that it's facing this way, so it's going to come around clockwise for every turn. So it goes there 1, and then here 2, and here 3. So what we're going to do is we're just going to click on here, the object. I'm going to rotate, so R, Z, and I'm going to click 90. Okay. I apologise, I haven't modelled in a little bit. Let's see if that's it now. Okay everyone, welcome back. Sorry about that. Everybody has a little brain fart now and again. I completely forgot to do something that's extremely important when dealing with these types of things. So I suppose it's good that it's come up so that I can remember to cover it with you. As you can see, we've kind of got it working now, and I've not just manually moved it. You can see that here it's still using the same setup we just had, object offset on the empty, and it's we have a rotation if we click on empty of 90, so it's minus 90 because it's going this way around, but it's the same thing, and you can see that it's working the same. They're the same shape, the same size, and all of that. Now what happened was, when I started, and I was started to make this foot object right at the beginning, I moved a shape in and I reduced its size and I changed it around, and to me those actions are kind of finalized, but to the computer it kind of is still remembering the way things were, right? It's quite nostalgic, and what we need to do is just kind of almost save the new shape. So when I was kind of using this empty a second ago on this array to move it and rotate it, it was doing that based on the old object shape. So what we have to do every so often is do something called apply transforms. So transforms are like your grab, your rotate, your scale, all of those types of things. And just sometimes you just need to kind of take a minute and go, oh, I just need to update that so that Blender knows what the new information is. So sometimes when your scale of objects and things change, then you just need to say, this is the new me, right? And I want you to act based on this new me. To do that, you just press Control A and you can see apply, and then I just normally do all transforms. You can just do location, rotation, or scale, but to be honest, you might have accidentally changed one and not remembered. You can see how easy it was. I just messed it up. So just do all of them. It doesn't matter if you haven't done them, it will just do it anyway. And now we can see that this same shape is copied from here, and we've got a counter 2. So if I change this to a counter 3, hopefully, fingers crossed, it's going to go, okay, so here's 1, here's 2, and then I'm going to do another 90 degrees over here, here's 3, and then hopefully if we do 4, it'll have a 4th one over there. So let's see what it does. So 3 over there, 4 over there. Okay, so this is all good. It's the exact same space between here and here and here and here, and we can kind of change those if we want. If we wanted to kind of go back to edit mode and we ended up saying, actually, what I really want is, for some reason I want this to be like that or whatever, then you can see that they all do it at the same time, so it saves you having to edit them all, and even if you did do them all individually, they wouldn't be the same. And yeah, it's just kind of it's a bit of a but yeah, and then you might kind of go, I want a little foot out of there or whatever. Spend a couple of minutes changing those up however you want, if you want, but don't worry too much. So now that this is all done, we can kind of go back to our base, and we're going to let that come back in just to see how it looks with the 4 feet. And I'm just going to click off there, and actually I think that looks okay. You could maybe have like these come up a little bit more, or have like another shape if you wanted to, but that's not the point of the tutorial, so it's fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here, I'm just going to click these and I'm going to click apply. So now this is kind of one object, and I have this as one object. So now what we're going to do is I'm just going to take that empty and hide it for now, just so it doesn't get confusing. And then I'm going to add one last shape just to make kind of a part of the arm. And don't worry if yours isn't the same. We're just going to kind of make like a rough little robot arm that kind of does this, right? This kind of shape. So I'm going to add a cube. I'm going to just shrink that down, and so that was S to scale, and I just want that probably about there. That a bit bigger. There we go. That probably is about right. And I'm just gonna, yeah, that's. And I'm going to press Tab, and I'm going to press 3, and I'm going to select that. And just for aesthetics, I'm just going to press I and just insert a little bit, just so that the bit that comes out isn't quite the same size, so it kind of comes down and then down. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just press N to get rid of that. And I'm just going to come on side on. It doesn't matter which side because the feet are all the same, so it doesn't matter. And I'm going to press E to extrude, and I'm going to drag that up. and I'm going to put that about here. And then I'm going to press R, and because I can't see the red line, I know that X kind of comes out of the screen at me, right? And that's where I want to rotate, because if I press X, I want to rotate this way, right? I don't want to kind of accidentally rotate this way, and I sure as hell don't want to rotate that way. So yours might be Y if this line down here is red. Okay, so it's the one that you can't see. And remember, if you're not sure which is which, up here it says Z is blue, Y is. And so I'm going to rotate X, and I'm just going to bring that kind of like that. And then I'm going to extrude, and I'm just going to kind of like move and rotate that. Right? So it's kind of like that. That's okay. And then I'm going to extrude again. Now this time, what I want is I'm looking for this line, right? Because I'm going to extrude this bit this way in a second. So I want this shape to be probably about the same width as this one, right? So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this one, and I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to go E like this, and notice it's not quite doing it straight because the axis is playing around, but that's fine. And then here I'm going to put it probably about here, a little bit longer than this one, but not too long, because then I'm going to extrude again, and then I want this bit to be the same as this so that I can extrude this way, right? So kind of the same as what we did here. So I'm going to extrude this again. Don't worry that it's doing this. I'm just, afterwards, I'm pressing G just to move it, and they're all still in line perfectly here because we are staying on this X window, right? So now I'm going to press 3 again, or go up here, I'm going to press that, back to X, and I'm going to extrude this one, and I'm just going to kind of move that. So you can see that kind of like the arm is sort of pretty much there. Let's see, I'm going to, yeah. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to extrude again, and put that there. And then I want kind of like 2 bits coming off of it, right? So I want like 2 pincers, or that kind of thing. So what I'll do is I'll grab this one and this one, and I want them to extrude slightly, just so that we have like a little box here that I can then extrude forwards, because I can't really split this in 2, because then this is all going to get messed up along here. We want to just try and keep this as simple as possible. Now if I press E here, they're going to kind of get a bit funny, right? It's going to, I definitely don't want to do that. Now one extremely important thing to do here is I've actually done 2 steps, right? I did the extrude, and then I moved the extrude. So if I just do Control Z once and then kind of go again, I've still actually got this new information over here. So I need to Control Z again just to make sure that I'm all the way back to where I was. I'm going to hold Shift and select these 2. Now in Blender, a lot of the time, if you know the hotkey for something, then there are, if you hold Control or Alt and press that same shortcut, it will give you a different response that's relevant to that. So it might be like the opposite, or it might be extra options. And we want to extrude, so we know the shortcut is E, but we want extra kind of options. So if we press Alt or Command and E, we kind of get this extrude menu, this secret menu, right? And because we have these different faces selected, we want to extrude on individual faces. So if we do that, and then we do that, we can see that now they've both done the exact same thing but go in their own way, right? So this one says, oh, I'm facing this way, so I'll extrude this one, and this one says, I'm facing this way, so this will extrude this one. And now I'm just going to select these two, and I'm going to do exactly the same. I'm going to press Alt-E, extrude, and I'm just, no, Control-Z again, sorry, I need to be in the viewport again, don't I? Alt-E, extrude, and I'm just going to drag those out. And I feel like they should be kind of like pointed a bit, yeah? So let's just make them straight, and then a little bit on here. Let's see if local will do it. No. Okay. Fine. We'll just leave it like that for now. That's okay. So what we've got here is we've got a very basic arm. I know it doesn't look like it, but we will start playing around with this. And I don't like these square corners. It doesn't look right. I feel like a real robot arm would have lots of nuts and bolts and things that we're not going to bother doing, but at least there should be something. So I'm going to click off there. I'm going to go here. I'm going to add another cylinder, and I'm going to rotate this, and I'm going to put it in there. And the main aim is just to kind of cover up that sharp point so that it at least looks like it's it fits, it works. Okay, it kind of looks now like this goes into here, and then this is a separate object that goes into here, and then some magic happens in there and whatnot. So once I do that, Shift D to copy. I'm going to put another one there, and you could put one there, but that'll be fine. So now we pretty much have our robotic arm. Very well done. If we managed to get through all of that, I know that there were some bumps along the road, but that's fine, right? That's life. That's absolutely fine. We still made it through. And if your robot arm looks worse than mine, that's okay, because my one earlier looked worse. And if it looks better, well done. You're already becoming considerably better than you thought you were an hour ago. So what we're going to do is we're just going to Control S to save that, and we're going to move on to the next video, and I will see you soon, and I hope you're all okay.